It was late on a quiet Sunday evening, and I found myself in an unexpected situation with my stepmom. The day had started out as normal as ever, with no clue that by evening, I'd be in such close quarters with her. Let me back up a bit and introduce myself first. My name is Aaron, and I'm 18. Ever since my mom remarried, it's been just my stepmom and me at home for most of the week, with Dad working out of town often. That evening, we had gone out to pick up a few things downtown, and just as we were about to head back, a quick stop by the office building she worked in seemed harmless. But as we got into the building's elevator, I could never have imagined what was about to happen. As the elevator doors closed, we hit the button for the ground floor, both of us in our own thoughts, her looking at her phone, and me just zoning out after a long day. But a sudden jolt interrupted the silence, and the lights flickered before going completely dark. My heart skipped a beat, and I could hear her gasp as the elevator came to a dead stop between floors. In the dim emergency lighting, she looked over at me, a bit nervous but trying to stay calm. I tried to reassure her, but even I was feeling a little anxious. We were alone, and no one knew we were here. She pulled out her phone, checking for a signal, but there was nothing. In the dim, enclosed space, the air grew warmer as the minutes stretched on. She let out a small sigh, leaning against the wall, her hand brushing lightly against her collarbone as she tried to calm herself down. I found myself watching her movements, every subtle gesture feeling amplified in the confined space. Her breathing steadied, and I felt a strange comfort in the quiet rhythm of it. In a soft voice, she said, "I didn't expect to be stuck here like this, especially not with you." There was a hint of humor, but also a bit of genuine vulnerability that caught me off guard. "Me neither," I replied, managing a small smile. "I guess we'll have to make the best of it." She looked at me, her eyes softened, and there was a moment of silent understanding between us. She reached out, gently touching my arm in a reassuring way, but the warmth of her hand lingered a bit longer than I expected. I felt a thrill from that small touch, something I hadn't anticipated but didn't pull away from either. With each passing minute, the air grew heavier. We both loosened up a bit, trying to stay comfortable in the rising warmth. She unbuttoned the top of her shirt, her fingers lingering on the collar as she tried to find some relief. I could feel my pulse quicken as I looked away, trying not to let my thoughts drift too far, but her presence, so close and so relaxed, made it hard to focus. She noticed my nervousness and chuckled softly, a sound that broke the tension. "Relax," she said, her tone soothing. "It's just us here. No need to be so tense." Taking a deep breath, I nodded, though my heart continued its steady, pounding rhythm. We fell into a comfortable silence for a bit, the dim lighting adding an unusual intimacy to the situation. Eventually, she looked up at me, her gaze steady and thoughtful. "I never thought I'd say this, but I'm kinda glad I'm not alone." She smiled at me softly, her hand still resting on my arm, the weight of her touch warm and grounding. Her gaze lingered, and for a moment I felt everything around us fade away. I was lost in the softness of her expression, and in that enclosed space, every sound, every breath seemed to magnify. She leaned a little closer, her hand moving to my shoulder, and I felt my pulse quicken again. "You're really sweet, you know that," she murmured. Her words felt gentle, almost like a confession, and the vulnerability in her tone took me by surprise. I swallowed, not sure how to respond. I guess I just try to be myself." Her fingers traced small circles on my shoulder, and her eyes held mine with an intensity that left me breathless. "I know you do," she said softly, her voice barely a whisper. "That's what I like about you." There was a beat of silence, just long enough for her words to settle in, and then, without another word, she leaned in just a little closer. Her lips brushed mine gently at first, tentative, almost as if testing the waters. But the contact sent a wave of warmth through me, and before I knew it, I found myself responding, letting the moment take over. The gentle kiss deepened, a soft, lingering exchange that spoke more than words ever could. Her hand moved up to cup my cheek, her thumb brushing my skin in a way that made my heart race. I found myself leaning into her touch, wanting more, yet savoring each second as if time had slowed just for us. As the kiss deepened, the world around us faded away completely. All I could feel was the warmth of her body so close to mine, the softness of her lips against mine, and the intoxicating scent of her hair. The enclosed space of the lift became a sanctuary, isolating us from everything else, and I lost myself in the moment. Suddenly, she pulled back slightly, her eyes searching mine, a mix of excitement and uncertainty. "Are you okay?" she asked, her breath a little shaky, mirroring my own. "Yeah, I'm okay," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "More than okay." She smiled, and it felt like the sun breaking through the clouds. "Good. I was worried you might think this is too much." There was a vulnerability in her voice that made my heart swell. "No, I want this. I really do," I assured her, leaning in again, our lips barely touching. "I've wanted this for a long time." With that, the kiss resumed, this time more fervent, as if we were both trying to catch up on all the moments we'd missed. My hands found their way to her waist, pulling her closer until I could feel the heat radiating from her body. The kiss turned into something deeper, a soft exploration as we both surrendered to the rush of emotions. Her fingers tangled in my hair, and I felt her warmth envelop me. The tiny lift, with its walls closing in, felt like a world all its own. I could feel her heartbeat matching mine, and it was a rhythm I never wanted to end. After a while, she pulled back again, her cheeks flushed. "Wow," she breathed, her eyes sparkling with mischief and something deeper. "I didn't think being stuck in a lift could feel like this." "Neither did I admitted, unable to wipe the smile off my face. "It's kind of amazing," she chuckled softly, "and it made me feel lighter. I guess it's just you and me now, huh?" "Yeah, just us," I replied, glancing around the small space as if suddenly realizing how intimate it felt. "And I'm glad it is." She took a deep breath, her eyes locking onto mine. "I thought about this about us, but I didn't know if you felt the same way." "I do," I said firmly. "I've wanted to tell you for so long, but I didn't know how." "Neither did I," she confessed, her fingers still resting on my shoulder, sending shivers down my spine. "But now here we are." "Yeah," I murmured, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. The reality of our situation hung in the air, thick and heavy, but I couldn't deny the thrill coursing through me. "What if we don't go back to the way things were?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't want to go back," I replied, my gaze steady on her. "I want to explore this, whatever this is." Her smile returned, lighting up her face. "So do I." She leaned in closer, her lips brushing against mine again, sending a spark through me. It felt electric, and I couldn't help but deepen the kiss, my hands roaming her back, feeling the soft fabric of her shirt under my fingers. As we kissed, the reality of our situation faded again, and I lost myself in the moment. Each kiss felt like a promise, a step into uncharted territory that I was eager to explore. I pulled her closer, wanting to feel every inch of her, wanting to lose myself in her warmth. Then she pulled away slightly, her breath mingling with mine, creating a delicate tension in the air. "What if someone finds us?" she asked, glancing nervously at the lift doors. "Let them," I said with a chuckle. "Right now, I don't care about anything except this moment." She laughed, the sound bright and light, easing the tension. "You're right. This is our time." With a newfound sense of freedom, I leaned in again, kissing her softly, savoring the way she melted against me. My hands moved down to her waist, pulling her closer still. The kiss deepened, our breaths mingling as we lost ourselves in the warmth and intimacy of our connection. The minutes passed like hours, and as we kissed, the world outside the lift faded into oblivion. The thrill of being caught only intensified the moment, igniting a fire between us that was impossible to ignore. Eventually, we paused for breath, and I rested my forehead against hers, our breaths mingling in the tight space. "What if we don't want to stop?" I asked, my heart racing with the possibilities. "Then we won't," she replied, her eyes glinting with mischief. With that, she leaned in again, her lips finding mine in a sweet, lingering kiss that sent shivers down my spine. I tangled my fingers in her hair, holding her close as if she might disappear. The kiss was soft at first, but quickly turned hungry, filled with all the pent-up emotion we had both been holding back. As we kissed, her hands found their way to my chest, exploring the muscles beneath my shirt, her touch igniting a warmth within me. My body responded instinctively, the heat pooling in my core, and I couldn't help but pull her closer, deepening the kiss as I explored the contours of her back. Time seemed to stretch as we continued, lost in each other, our kisses becoming more desperate, more needful. I felt her body mold against mine, every curve fitting perfectly as if we were made for each other. The tension in the small space increased as our kisses became more passionate, and I felt a wave of desire wash over me. I moved my hands to her hips, holding her against me, feeling her heartbeat in sync with my own. "Let's make this moment last," she whispered against my lips, her breath hot and enticing. "Absolutely," I replied, my voice thick with longing. With that, we resumed our kisses, losing ourselves in each other again, every brush of lips igniting sparks of desire. The world outside was forgotten. All that mattered was the heat between us, the connection that felt so real, so undeniable. As the minutes passed, I could feel the chemistry between us intensifying, the kisses becoming deeper, more exploratory. I traced my fingers along her back, feeling the warmth of her skin beneath the fabric of her shirt, sending shivers through her body. I could feel her breath quickening, the way her body responded to my touch, and it filled me with an intoxicating sense of power and desire. My heart raced as I lost myself in her, each kiss a promise of what was to come. Suddenly, the lift jolted, and we both froze for a second. My heart raced, and I glanced at the doors. "What was that?" "Maybe they're fixing it," she suggested, a hint of nervousness in her voice. "Let's not worry about that," I replied, pulling her back to me. "We can't let anything interrupt this." With a determined kiss, I captured her lips again, losing myself in the taste of her mouth, the way her body pressed against mine. I could feel her smile against my lips, and it only fueled my desire. The world outside ceased to exist. All that mattered was the warmth of her body against mine and the intoxicating closeness we shared. "Maybe we should take this a little further," she suggested, her voice low and sultry. I raised an eyebrow, curiosity piqued. "What did you have in mind?" She leaned in closer, her breath teasing my ear. "I think we should explore each other a little more," she whispered, her voice dripping with seduction. The thought sent a thrill down my spine, and I nodded slowly, excitement flooding my senses. "I'm definitely up for that." With a playful grin, she took my hand and guided it to her waist, urging me to explore further. I could feel the heat radiating from her skin, and every touch sent electric jolts through my body. I brushed my fingers along the curve of her waist, feeling the softness of her body beneath my fingertips. The kiss resumed, deeper and more passionate than before, as I lost myself in her warmth. Her hands explored my chest, tracing the muscles beneath my shirt, and I felt my breath hitch at her touch. I pulled her closer, wanting to feel every inch of her against me, my hands moving lower, finding the hem of her shirt. She gasped softly, and I hesitated for a moment, searching her eyes for permission. When she nodded, a spark of excitement shot through me. I lifted her shirt gently, exposing her skin to the cool air, and I leaned down to kiss her softly, savoring the warmth of her body. "Wow," she breathed, her eyes widening as my lips trailed along her skin. "That feels amazing," I continued, kissing my way down her abdomen, feeling her shiver beneath my touch. The thrill of exploration fueled my desire, and I lost myself in the sensations. The kiss of my lips against her skin felt electrifying, and I reveled in the way she responded, her body arching towards me, inviting me closer. The moment was intoxicating, and I could feel the heat radiating from her body, pulling me in deeper. Her fingers tangled in my hair as she gasped softly, urging me on, and I felt a surge of confidence as I continued to explore, every kiss igniting a fire within me. God, This is incredible, she murmured, her voice breathy with pleasure. I pulled back slightly, catching her gaze, wanting to see the fire reflected in her eyes. You have no idea how long I've waited for this, I confessed, my heart racing. The intensity of the moment surrounded us like a thick fog, pulling us deeper into our own world. Neither do I, she admitted, a shy smile breaking through her earlier boldness. It's like a dream I never wanted to wake up from. Encouraged by her words, I leaned in again, capturing her lips with mine. This time, I let my hands roam freely, exploring every curve and contour of her body as we kissed. My fingers brushed against her skin, tracing the delicate lines of her waist and the soft fabric of her jeans, feeling the warmth radiating from her. The kisses grew deeper, more heated, as the air around us thickened with desire. The sound of our breathing echoed in the small lift, punctuating the silence that wrapped around us like a comforting blanket. Are you sure about this? I asked, pulling back slightly to gauge her reaction. I wanted to make sure she felt just as passionate about this moment as I did. More than anything, she whispered, her eyes glinting with determination. I've never wanted something like this before. With renewed vigor, I kissed her again, and the taste of her lips was intoxicating, sparking a need within me that I never knew existed. I felt her body respond, her hands roaming over my shoulders and down my back, pulling me closer as if she couldn't get enough of me. As the kisses intensified, I lost track of time. I was completely consumed by the sensations coursing through me, by the taste of her skin and the feel of her warmth against me. Every brush of her fingers sent sparks of electricity through my body, igniting a fire that was impossible to control. Let's not think about anything else, she murmured against my lips, her voice husky with desire. Just us right now. Right now, I echoed, lost in her eyes. The world outside the lift felt so distant, so irrelevant. All that mattered was this moment, the connection we were forging, and the undeniable chemistry that sparked between us. We continued to kiss, our bodies pressed together, the heat radiating off us both as we explored each other with newfound fervor. My hands roamed her back, tracing the delicate fabric of her shirt before sliding under it to feel the warmth of her skin. She shivered at my touch, a soft gasp escaping her lips as I gently caressed her lower back. The sensation made my heart race, and I reveled in the way she responded to my every movement. God, you feel amazing, she breathed, her eyes fluttering shut as I continued to kiss down her neck, my lips trailing soft, lingering kisses along her collarbone. I felt a surge of pride at her response, fueling my desire even more. And you make me feel incredible, I whispered, my voice thick with longing. Her fingers tangled in my hair, pulling me closer as she tilted her head back, giving me more access to her soft skin. I took my time, savoring each moment, every touch, as if it might be the last. Can we go further? She asked, her voice shaky with anticipation. Are you sure? I replied, needing to hear her say it. Yes, she breathed, her gaze intense and searching. I want you. I want this. With that affirmation, I leaned in and kissed her deeply, my hands exploring more boldly as I caressed her body. The thrill of the moment pushed me further, and I let my fingers glide down her sides, reveling in the soft curves beneath my hands. The kiss deepened, and I felt her body respond, pressing against me as if trying to meld into my very being. I was lost in the sensations, the warmth of her skin, the softness of her lips, and the rush of emotions that surged between us. Suddenly, the lift lurched again, and we both paused, exchanging nervous glances. What if someone finds us? She whispered, her breath quickening. Then they'll find us, I said, the thrill of danger adding to the excitement. But I'm not stopping now. She nodded, determination written on her face. Neither am I. With that, I leaned in, kissing her with renewed fervor, letting my hands explore the contours of her body with increasing confidence. Every kiss felt like a step deeper into uncharted territory, and I was eager to explore. We kissed, our bodies pressed tightly together, the warmth radiating off us both as we continued to lose ourselves in the moment. I could feel her heart racing against my chest, matching the intensity of our shared experience. "Let's just enjoy this," she murmured between kisses, her breath hot against my lips. "Whatever happens next, we'll figure it out later." "Agreed," I whispered, capturing her lips once more, feeling the way she melted against me as we fell back into our rhythm. I felt emboldened, my hands roaming more freely as I explored the warmth of her skin beneath the fabric of her shirt. I gently pushed it up, exposing her waist, and she gasped softly, her skin soft and inviting against my touch. "God, you're beautiful," I whispered, my voice low and filled with a "don't say that." She replied with a teasing smile, though her cheeks flushed with color. "You'll make me blush." "I can't help it," I replied, leaning in to kiss her again, tasting the sweetness of her lips. With each kiss, we sank deeper into a rhythm that felt natural, electric. I explored every inch of her body, the curves and valleys, memorizing the feel of her skin against my fingertips. Suddenly, the lift jolted again, and I froze, my heart racing. "Is it going to stop?" I asked, worry creeping into my mind. "Maybe," she said, her eyes glancing nervously at the doors. "But right now, I don't care." With that, she pulled me back to her, our lips crashing together once more. I lost myself in her warmth, feeling the world outside fade away as we surrendered to our desire, holding on to each other as if we were the only two people in the universe. "Let's take this to the next level," she whispered breathlessly, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "What did you have in mind?" I asked, feeling my pulse quicken at the prospect. "Just trust me," she said, her voice sultry. Without hesitation, she leaned in and kissed me deeply, her hands roaming over my body, igniting a fire within me. I felt her warmth radiating against my skin, and I pulled her closer, exploring every curve with my hands. "Do you trust me?" she asked, pulling back slightly to search my eyes. "More than anything," I replied, my heart racing at the intensity of the moment. With a mischievous smile, she leaned in again, her lips brushing against my neck, sending shivers down my spine. "Then let's make this unforgettable." The kiss turned fevered as we embraced the intimacy of our shared space. I could feel the air thickening around us, electrified by our connection. Her touch was intoxicating, and every brush of her skin against mine ignited a spark that coursed through me. As we kissed, the world around us faded into oblivion, leaving just the two of us caught in the whirlwind of our emotions. Each moment felt like a discovery, a step into a new reality we had both craved for so long. "Are you sure?" I murmured, my breath hitching at the thought of taking this leap. "Absolutely," she replied, determination shining in her eyes. With that reassurance, I leaned in once more, kissing her deeply as if to seal our unspoken promise. My hands slid beneath her shirt, feeling the warmth of her skin against my palms. I reveled in the way she responded, her body arching towards mine, urging me on. "Don't stop," she breathed, her voice thick with desire. "I won't," I promised, my fingers tracing her sides as I kissed her neck, feeling her shudder beneath my touch. The lift continued to sway slightly, but all of that faded into the background as we embraced our passion. I explored every inch of her, losing myself in the moment, every touch and kiss igniting a fire that consumed us both. "Let's just enjoy this," she whispered, her breath mingling with mine as we lost ourselves in each other. "Together," I replied, kissing her again, feeling the rush of emotions washing over me as we surrendered to the moment, creating a world of our own in the confined space of the lift. We kissed until our lips felt swollen and bruised, our breaths mingling in the small space. I couldn't get enough of her. The softness of her skin, the warmth of her body against mine, the taste of her lips. Each moment felt like a promise, a step into a deeper connection that was both thrilling and terrifying. The lift finally jolted again, and I felt a wave of concern wash over me. "What if we get stuck here for a long time?" I asked, glancing at the doors. Then we make the best of it, she replied with a mischievous grin. I'm sure we can find ways to keep ourselves entertained. With a playful glint in her eyes, she leaned in again, and I captured her lips, feeling the heat between us intensify. The thrill of the unknown sent adrenaline coursing through my veins as I lost myself in her embrace, the world outside fading into oblivion once more. Our kisses deepened, becoming more passionate, as if we were trying to consume each other completely. I could feel the rhythm of her heartbeat against mine, matching the fervor of our shared moments. Do you think anyone can hear us? She whispered breathlessly, a playful smirk dancing on her lips. I chuckled softly, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Let them. I don't care anymore. The thrill of the moment filled me with a daring confidence, and I pulled her closer, reveling in the connection we had formed. She laughed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Okay, let's give them a show then. With a teasing gleam in her gaze, she leaned in, her lips brushing against my ear as she whispered something that sent shivers down my spine. I couldn't help but smile, the warmth of her breath igniting a fire within me. Maybe we should just let the lift take us wherever it wants, I suggested, unable to hide my excitement. We could be here for a while. She grinned, her enthusiasm infectious. As long as I'm with you, I don't mind at all. In that moment, I realized how true her words were. The world outside felt like a distant memory, and all that mattered was the warmth of her body against mine, the intoxicating closeness we had discovered. After a few moments, I pulled back slightly, looking into her eyes, which sparkled with excitement and adventure. So, what now? I asked, the thrill of the unknown coursing through me. Now, she said, her voice low and inviting, we just enjoy this moment. No pressure, no expectations. Just us. I smiled, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. I can live with that, I replied, leaning in to kiss her again. With the lift swaying gently, we settled into a rhythm, our hands exploring each other with newfound freedom. The intimacy of the moment deepened, and I felt a bond forming between us that transcended everything. Eventually, the sound of the lift chiming broke through the haze of our kisses. The doors slid open, and a wave of cool air rushed in, pulling us back into reality. We exchanged nervous glances, and I could feel the tension of being caught lingering in the air. But instead of panic, we both burst into laughter, the shared joy of the experience making everything feel lighter. Looks like we're free, she said, playfully nudging my shoulder as we stepped out of the lift, our hands still intertwined. Yeah, but this doesn't have to be the end, I replied, my heart racing at the thought. How about we grab coffee sometime? Maybe go somewhere a little less confined? Definitely, she smiled, her eyes gleaming with promise. I'd like that a lot. As we walked down the corridor, our hands still linked, I felt an exhilarating sense of anticipation for what lay ahead. This moment had opened up a new chapter in our lives, one filled with possibilities and adventures just waiting to unfold. With every step, I felt the warmth of our connection lingering, knowing that this was just the beginning of something beautiful. We turned the corner together, our laughter echoing through the halls, the thrill of the lift ride forever etched in our memories as a moment of boldness and passion that would lead to so much more. See you soon? I asked as we reached the door. Absolutely, she replied, her smile radiant. As I watched her walk away, I felt a surge of hope and excitement. This was the start of a journey I couldn't wait to explore, one filled with laughter, connection, and the thrill of love. And as the doors closed behind her, I knew that this moment would always hold a special place in my heart.